Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff, Mosher, Adam Caplan here for the Week 4 film review podcast as the Eagles defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars 29-21. And if you thought that game was history because it was played in a driving rainstorm, the weather locally has reminded you, because as at the time of us recording this podcast, it's still raining at times about as hard as it was raining on Sunday afternoon. And remember, the rain started, Adam, on Saturday. So Saturday, we're going on almost a full 5-day week here of rain.
But tomorrow, the great thing is tomorrow, Thursday, it's going to be nice, actually, Thursday and Friday.
Can't wait, man.
I know, because it gets you down the dreary, it gets people depressed. I understand that. But, wouldn't you know it, our furnace is shot after 14 years, so we have to get a new furnace put in. So that's why I'm wearing my vest. Although I love sleeping in the cold weather. I don't know about you, but I like it in low 60s. So
yeah, I'm a window open guy in the fall.
Are you really?
Yeah, you gotta sleep with the window a little cracked open. Yeah, well, in the summer you got the AC on, but yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
but some people I don't like to use the AC. I'd rather have the windows open.
If it's night, if it's humid, I can't do that. But if it's a nice breezy night,
sure. But look, it's been an interesting week. So the Eagles, we have some good injury information, which we'll give you on this show.
Yeah,
we'll see what they do today, who practices, who doesn't. This is the first time, ironically, by injury metrics. This is what someone in the league told me. Eagles and the Jaguars are the two healthiest teams coming into last week's game, and all of a sudden, Eagles are piling up the injuries. Though none, as Sirianni said on Monday, are serious, but his definition of serious is maybe not the whole season. He didn't say a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. He doesn't like to give up. At least he gives you some breadcrumbs. He gives you some crumbs in his press conferences, but we'll update some of those today.
Yeah, he gives you some. Your ribs are still touching after if you're looking for food there. He's just giving you crumbs.
Yeah, but but it is true, because think about it. Slay leaves the game with a forearm injury. When a guy doesn't come back from forearm injury, you're thinking it's broken. Why else would you not come back unless it's got a very deep bruise?
Yeah, that's all I could think of, like a major bruise. Yeah.
Right, because if you've got a bad contusion, you can't take contact on it.
Right.
And they got which my guess is that what else could it possibly be? So we'll find out more. But apparently he was pretty jovial in the locker room, and it's funny. You laugh. I bring that up.
Well, just because it's Slay, like I've never not seen him jovial.
Right. But if it was bad, obviously he wears his heart on his sleeve, so to speak. So
that's a good point.
And he wouldn't have spoken to the media after the game. So who knows?
That is true. Excellent point on that. All right. I want to quickly thank all of our new Patreon subscribers, those who went to patreon.com/InsideTheBirds to become a subscriber, because we got a flood of them in after our interview with John DiFilippo last week. And still people talking about it. It was a really fantastic interview. So we want to continue to reward the Patreon subscribers this month with our bonus podcast. We will do another Ask ITB live stream fairly soon. And then we're trying to get a former NFL defensive coordinator. We just had a former NFL offensive coordinator. Now we're trying to get a former NFL defensive coordinator on the show with us and really chop it up on some of the concepts you're seeing the Eagles execute right now, what the trends are in the league. And just in general, anytime we get a chance to talk to a play caller like we did with DiFilippo, Adam, we're going to go through what that person's job responsibilities are like Monday through Friday, how they come up with a game plan. We love doing this stuff to be very educational and really take you behind the scenes of a complex or a facility and see how what happens on Sunday is formulated from Monday through Saturday.
So flip what John did, because he was the quarterback's coach then. He was in charge of the red zone, which was, they had the number one red zone offense at 17.
Mm-hmm.
He not only took us through, as you said, Monday through Saturday, to walkthrough day. He also went over, and I knew this, and I was hoping he would be willing to talk about it. He was great. He didn't really hold anything back. They found a tell with Harrison Smith in 2017 during their tape study, because I was talking to someone that week, it might have been that Monday, who said, man, this is going to be hard for us to score on this team. And John, when we spoke to him last week, went over what they had seen. They found something, and then I guess it was, he said Frank Reich. Did he say Stoutland?
Yeah. We talked about this last pod or recently, how much more Stoutland is involved in game planning than people realize. Yeah. Maybe it was Monday night on the Fanatic show, but Jeff Stoutland is not just an offensive line coach who happens to be a great offensive line coach. He's a big part of what the plays look like and the design and the playbook on game day. So that's pretty vital right there.
Yeah, he's I know John said he's one of the finest coaches ever to work with. We asked him off camera about, what do you think of this guy, that guy? He just could not rave anymore about Stout. So yeah, that was an hour long, and we're going to get John again back probably mid-season to give a mid-season report. He's been watching some of the Eagles tape,
Definitely.
and he's got some great stuff on Hurts, as he spoke a little bit about it in that 1 hour show. But he, because he coached Justin Fields last year. He worked with Carson Palmer, Carson Wentz,
Gardner Minshew.
Who's that?
Gardner Minshew.
Minshew, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. In 2019, you're right.
Yep.
And I love the thing he said about guys who can move or can run. They make you look great on a third down when the guys are covered.
Right.
Minshew would scramble and save them.
Yep.
He loves that. He loves it. So, and he talked about we won't give the quarterback away, but one quarterback he missed on an evaluation really kind of changed the way he scouts quarterbacks. And it's a guy's probably going to be a Hall of Famer today who's doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an unbelievable discussion about the quarterback position. We're going to get more into quarterbacks with John the next time. And this defensive coordinator we're talking to say he knows the Fangio defense would be an understatement, which the Eagles are running a lot of. I'll leave it at that.
There you go. All right. This will be the first 4:00 game that the Eagles are going to play this year coming up against the Arizona Cardinals out there in Glendale, Arizona. But our pregame show, and we started this trend a couple of years ago, we're going to continue it. The pregame show will still be from 10 a.m. until noon. We want you to enjoy your 1 o'clock football. And we know everybody's going to want to watch 1 o'clock football and we don't want to compete with it. We waved the white flag. So no, definitely check us out. 10 a.m. till noon. We'll be at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook there on Delaware Ave in Philadelphia, breaking down the Cardinals, myself, Adam, Jason Avant, and Greg Cosell, the usual suspects that are there. And then hopefully, the game will end around 7:30-ish, 7:45, and we'll do the post-game show with myself, Adam, and Trey Thomas, all right, which will also become the morning after podcast. And if you haven't yet, please check out the latest Q&A. Got rave reviews.
Oh.
I know we say that a lot, but this one really did. First of all, they did some film breakdown in it. So if you are normally a podcast listener, you'll be fine. You'll be able to understand what they're talking about. But from a visual standpoint, you might want to check it out on YouTube, because what they did was break down some game film from the Jaguars game and explained why certain things were happening, which was great. And then there were some pretty awesome stories, really, really funny stories from both of their playing days. So it's an excellent show.
I'm 20 minutes in, and then I wanted to see. I kind of cheated. I went to see the comments, and it's funny because I like to see what the reactions are on our YouTube comments.
Yeah,
and it's funny because they talk about. I think they talk about the AJ Brown play where he on the pick.
Yeah.
I want to hear when I didn't. Did I skip that? I don't know. I just didn't hear them talk about it, so I need to hear it. Apparently, a lot of people commented on that, and as you said, the storytelling. It's funny when we brought Q and Jay in. We just asked one thing: please tell stories. It's the only thing we require.
Yeah,
it's the only thing we need from you guys. Do whatever you want, but because they asked for tips, and we had our Zoom with them. Just tell stories.
Yeah, there's a great story about how sometimes defenses call out certain players when they see certain formations, and a new guy gets in, right? And they don't necessarily call him out by number or by name. They call him out sort of by identity. And Jason was called out in a way that wasn't very flattering. So it's a really funny story that he'll tell well, that he did tell well. So you got to check it out. All right, let's get into some of the transactions that have gone on here. The Eagles released tight end Dalton Keene from their practice squad. They wound up signing a undrafted free agent guard, Tyrese Robinson. He did play at Oklahoma, so I believe he played with Jalen Hurts. He's a big dude, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's a guard, and he was with the Commanders as UDFA. Yeah, he was with him in the summer. So now the Eagles have 4 offensive linemen on the practice squad, 2 interior.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cameron, love that name, and then the 2 tackles. And then they signed Tuesday night. Well, they agreed to a practice squad deal with Cameron Dicker the kicker, as everybody calls him. He's a terrific. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that he's not, with the state of kicking in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised he had not gotten a job. He was with the Ravens. He kicked in the preseason. In fact, he filled in for. They give Tucker the third preseason game off. He's got a great leg. He's really good. Now we're told that their plan would be if Elliott's not ready. And folks, if you play fantasy football, I get another kicker. It's the best I can do for you. It doesn't sound great for him to be available. As a matter of fact, based on what we know about the injury, I'm kind of surprised Elliott was able to kick or fit whatever after he got hurt, as you know, he toughed it out and kicked for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, what we don't know is, I know some people like us, I mean in particular, and some other people complain about why did update? Why did you go for it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that's why, because Elliott's leg, he didn't want to chance it. Okay, maybe that was it.
Yeah, maybe that would make sense. That would be understood. It was hard to reconcile that because of the fact that he had made the kick in his attempt before that. So, but
right,
maybe something got hurt in it, or he didn't like how he felt. So that's a fair point. So wait, tell me more about Cameron Dicker, because I've never heard of the guy, and you just said you're surprised that he didn't have a job, but he was with the Ravens, right? Did he have a really good preseason or something?
I think he might have been with the Rams also.
Oh, this is not his first year.
Cameron Dicker. Here's what I could. Also, there were other teams involved trying to sign. I have no idea how they. He's like kind of seen as like the best. He was at University of Texas.
Yeah.
He was probably he's probably one of the best free agents out there.
Okay.
And he also could. Here's the other thing: he could punt or kick.
Oh, okay.
Some teams saw him a punter, some saw him as a kicker.
Gotcha.
And yeah, he was a punter there, but he could kick too. It just depends on the team you talk with. And there was a team I had heard that was trying to sign him, and the Eagles.
Okay.
You know, I guess what I'm thinking, don't know this 100%. I'm guessing that he felt he had a better chance to get a paycheck on a 53. Because Elliott's injury is very shaky. And why go to another team's practice squad and wait for someone to get hurt? Because that's the only way you're being brought up on a practice squad as a kicker. If your kicker gets hurt, they're not going to have two kickers on the 53. You know?
No, that would be a waste of a
right.
Of
so he's got a better chance to kick for the Eagles here. And also because he could do kicking and punting. And the other thing is, he's just a very successful college kicker. I don't know why. He's a UDFA. He's a rookie. I just don't know why, based on the intel that I have on this player, why he was not. I mean, I'm seeing Matt Amendola sign, Matthew Wright. If you go through the sort of the street free agent kickers, the younger guys, this kid's better than all of them. I'm surprised that another team didn't sign him, but from what I understand, there was definitely another team involved, so the Eagles kind of had to act quickly, and they put him on there. And my sense is he'll be the kicker this week, but it's not 100%. We'll see if what Elliott's dealing with is going to get any better.
Mm-hmm.
But they have till Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. For any Sunday game, it's only 4 p.m. Eastern to make a decision.
All right, that's good intel there, because my first reaction would be to say, like, what makes him better than Matt Amendola? I've never even seen Cameron Dicker kick in a preseason game, so how does someone know he's better than Amendola? But obviously, you get that information. Someone's seen him kick, and Amendola kicks and thinks this guy is better.
He's good. Now, the Rams. I know the Rams are on him hard. To be with them this fall, and then I don't know this kid, so I don't know what his thinking was. But
great name.
Here's an up. What's that?
Great name. I mean,
I know Dicker's the kicker.
Dicker the kicker has got. I mean, in Philadelphia, that's going to play really well.
I put it out on Twitter. I had to update it. I was told 53, and then I was sent more information. I said no, it's the practice squad. Excuse, I was given a correction. But it's so funny to see the streaming tweets. There are like 1,000 of them.
I know you put the whole city in a frenzy for a second.
Oh, well, not only that, University Texas fans were in love with it because he was the #1 kicker in history, better than Tony Franklin.
Wow, how about that?
Former Eagle barefooted kicker #1 for the Super Bowl team.
Well, it's only right on a team that still has a Cox and a Johnson that you got to add a Dicker. You lost Peters, you got to add a Dicker.
You knew that was it was just so funny on Twitter. I do really get a kick. And then is it Connor Hughes had a great tweet. Some of the reporters that just cover the league, but they saw my tweet and they see the name and they couldn't resist.
How could you?
He had a list of the best all-time names, like Sheldrick Redwine, is it? Who's still in the league? It's like
listen. There's nothing better than Rashad Wildgoose. That is the best name in the league.
Against the Eagles, right? I love that stuff. I get a kick out of names,
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go.
All right. So, but to the bigger point was on Monday, I thought to myself, if they wind up signing a kicker to the practice squad, then your siren has to be up a little bit
Oh,
on
better be.
Jake Elliott. So we'll see. We'll have to see. We'll obviously have more on the Friday pod, and we'll see what the status of Jake is there.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
the team isn't saying this, but my sense is I don't never put percentage on anything because it's not my decision. If it was my decision, I could put a percentage on it, but I would put it this way. I put him in the doubtful category unless he makes a really good recovery. And it's early in the week now. It's only Wednesday.
Right.
As you said, that my sense is why would you? Well, then again, there was another team involved, but why would you? At least another team. Why would you sign him this early? It's Wednesday. Because of the thing, if you're going to wait out Elliott this week, the worst thing you could do is sign this kid Saturday. Because you got to get if Dicker's going to be the kicker this week, you got to get him the timing down between the Lovato and the holder, the Sipos, and this kid. That's another thing. The reason why Elliott struggled in 2020, the operation was bad from Lovato to the punter and to him.
Yeah. You also have to work him into your gadgetry play, like the flea flicker, so you can get the Dicker flicker.
Yeah, Dicker flicker.
Sorry, I'm done.
That's hilarious. You couldn't resist. But one thing, we've talked about this before. We don't talk about special teams much. Part of the reason my special teams coaches prefer one kicker over another, it's their ability. If there's a fake or a bump, like a bad snap, your kicker has to be able to throw the football. That's something I didn't know when I would never ask these questions. I've asked over the years, and a couple of special teams coaches I met on the road mentioned the same thing. It's such a value if your kicker could throw the ball, or your punter, or your kicker.
Even if he's just throwing it out of bounds, just to be able to have the sense to do it. Right.
The late Garrow your Premier, and you stole the 72 Super Bowl. You remember that one? Like he for the Dolphins.
Yes.
Nicest guy in the world, Garrow. Met him years ago.
That's a name that you can never forget either. Garrow your Premier.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We'll have more info for that as the week goes on. Other significant injuries. Obviously, Boston Scott missed the game last week. We have to see how he's going to deal with the hip. Jordan Mailata came out of the game with a shoulder injury, was replaced by Jack Driscoll. It's crazy. Someone got at us, Adam, and said that it's our fault because we had just been talking last week about with Andre Dillard out and with LaRaven Clark getting claimed by the Titans that who would play left tackle. We kept saying, my gosh, the only guy that can actually play tackle now with Dillard down and no Clark is Jack Driscoll, who's never played left tackle. And then we made the point that you're really just one snap away from Roderick Johnson at that point as your left tackle. And then what happens? He gets hurt making the diving attempt there.
I know, but it's our job. We have to talk about it because we want to, like, you had a great note on the show, our Sunday show, about what you were hearing on the slot corner. It was going to be Scott.
Scott, right.
And Greg Cosell had a great point. Coaches would rather not affect two positions.
Right.
That's why he said, you know what? Greg had just a theoretical point. No, because he talks to a lot of coaches. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson really is getting better, and he's just learning the defense. Are you really going to move him back to slot? Now, just because not the way they use their slot position is not the way Dennis Allen does it. So are you really going to ask him to learn another position?
Right.
The way the Eagles do it in this defense?
Right.
Great point by Greg, and the reason why you should listen to the pregame show if you're not. But I thought that was really good intel, and that's exactly what happened. Scott played the nickel. We'll get into that when we review the tape notes on defense, but there are a lot of moving parts. You just have a lot of injuries.
Yeah, and so we'll have to see. It's my understanding, he told reporters, I believe that Jordan Mailata told reporters he was going to have an MRI on it. He did have an MRI on the shoulder. It's my understanding there was no structural damage, but he does have discomfort. It's a strain, as I understand it. And so at that point, typically when you get a shoulder strain on a guy who plays that position, it just becomes a pain tolerance issue that usually you go out there and you warm up before the game. You've done what you've got your treatment throughout the week, and you kind of make that decision whether or not you think you can go. So that'll be a game time decision for Jordan Mailata and the team. And also typically with these guys, if they hurt that shoulder, they'll wear like a protective covering to try to give yourself a little bit more insulation or padding against the contact. So if he does play, which is hard to determine right now, he'd probably have to wear that protective covering. But we'll see. I mean, that's going to be a pain tolerance issue. And if you can't go, then it's going to have to be, you would think, Jack Driscoll again.
Yeah. I would also, just on a shoulder strain, you're stretching the fibers in your shoulder.
Right.
And it's a because if you saw him on the TV camera, you could see it. A lot of people saw it during the game. He was trying to push I think it's his right shoulder. He's trying to push it out, and it catches because when you have a shoulder strain, you've already stretched your shoulder.
Right.
The fibers are stretched, so it catches, and you're trying to figure out can you strike?
Right.
Because man, before he got hurt, he had some really good blocks. Wait! I cannot wait to talk about their offensive line. My God.
Yes, definitely.
They're unbelievable, the run game. But I'm going to say Malo, don't know. I would put Mailata as questionable. On Scott, he has to get cleared medically to take contact on his hip. Isaac Seumalo got hurt on the ankle. It's an ankle injury. We don't know right now. We're not going to guess. We don't know. We don't have enough intel.
I did speak to someone who felt like when it first happened, they thought he was going to be out for a long time because Seumalo has an injury history and it looked pretty bad. But that person told me that it's his understanding it's not going to be that long. So we'll just have to see. So, like you said,
Suapetta's got to get. He's getting a lot of mileage, man.
He really is. He is. And we'll talk about Sua a little bit. He came in, but there are some good things about Sua Opeta in specific situations, and then some things that they have to work around. But Andre Dillard is eligible, by the way, to come off of IR this week.
Yeah.
So, but does that mean he's eligible to play, Adam, or do you need that? Okay.
Yes. It's funny you say that because I talked to someone with a team on Tuesday. Said, hey, I know. There's so many different the league has junked some rules and revised some rules. The PUP one was so outdated where they'd make you wait 3 weeks before you could activate the guy.
Right.
So now it's you don't there's no acclimation period anymore. You can just so Dillard, if he's medically cleared, I highly doubt it. But hey, if he goes to practice and he could take contact on it, it would be. This is kind of early to come back from. I know it's non-displaced, but that's not the point. The point was he had surgery on it.
Right.
So it's got to totally heal. You cannot. It got repaired. You've got to be. It's about taking contact on his forearm.
Sure.
So he's got to get medically cleared. So if by a surprise he's medically cleared, great for the Eagles.
Sure.
Now they got to see what kind of condition he is in. They got to see in practice, but yeah, he could start working this week. If that's the problem is because he's an offensive lineman. It's not even about wearing a non-contact jersey because he has to take contact. It's an offensive lineman.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. So the fascinating thing is, all right, let's say Dillard can make it back and play left tackle.
Okay.
It seems, well, I mean, from the intel I'm getting, Sua Opeta would be the first guard. Jack Driscoll used to be the guy in at either guard or tackle. But this coaching staff, and even though Jeff Stoutland has been a huge proponent and still is of Jack Driscoll, I mean, you see he's played him at a lot of different positions. Opeta right now is the first guy in at guard. So even if you had both to choose from, sounds like Opeta, they're more comfortable with that guard. They just feel, and you've said this before, we've said this before a lot, that Driscoll is a better tackle. As a guard, he just doesn't have the bruteness, the bigness, that big bulky, you got to anchor, you got to play nasty. He's more of an athlete that's suited for having the space at tackle. Can he play guard if they need him to? Of course. Sure. But if they have someone that they're confident in, and they are more confident in Opeta now than maybe at this time last year or the year before, then they're going to go with the guy who's a better overall guard, which is Opeta.
Correct. Yes. And he's really come a long way because
he has.
At first, as we understand, this is years ago, he was having problems processing both sides, so they kept him on one side. I don't know what side guard he played, right or left in college, but they just felt like he worked well on one side, and then he felt confident over a series of months and years, and now he's able to play both guard spots. So yeah, that's a good find for them.
Yeah, very strong. Like his hands, they talk about his hands being so strong when he locks on you, especially in the running game. He can move you with that. But yeah, country strong, as they like to call it. Where did he go again? Yeah. Idaho? No. He went to one of those like really far western state colleges, right? That's like Idaho or Utah Tech.
I thought it was Idaho or Idaho State.
Yeah. Maybe Idaho State. That might have been it.
Weber State. Wow.
Weber State, which is in Utah, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where it is. Yeah. Okay. I knew it was somewhere country.
Weber, I know Weber from the NCAA tournament for basketball. They would be like the 16th seed.
Oh yeah, name me a great basketball player from Weber State.
Oh Why am I drawing a blank? I don't know. Go ahead.
Come on, he's the best shooting point shoot combo guard in the league, my friend.
Weaver. Why the? I don't know. Why am I missing?
Every Sixer wanted this guy for the last year and a half. Every Sixers fan plays for the Trailblazers.
Oh, wait. Did Dame go to Weber?
I'm almost positive he went to Weber State.
I'm gonna look it up. You might be right.
I'm almost positive. I know he went to a small school. Now you're
Okay.
gonna make me like second guess myself. It was like Wichita State. No, I think it was Weber
You are you. Good job out of you. Good job out of you.
State. Damian Lillard.
2012.
Yeah.
Wow, what a story. Anyway,
Yeah, great story. Great story.
Still great. I know. Trust me. No offense. I've heard. You hear Doc Rivers talk about how much weight. What's his name? Harden's got. How much weight and great shape he is. Sorry, that's great. I want Dame Lillard.
Oh, I've been a Damian Lillard stan for. I used to get into it. I used to argue. I used to have like this classic sports debate with when I was on air with Shander, Eitan Shander. He was a huge Russell Westbrook fan. And this is like, remember, this is like 6 or 7 years ago when Russ was like Oklahoma City, like awesome Russ.
Yeah.
He was like triple-double Russ. And I was a bigger Lillard fan, and we would argue over who's the better player. I think eventually I won out on that. But that's, at the time, they were both excellent, though. And they were both on the same level.
But other than Curry, I mean.
No, you're not going to find a shooter better than Lillard.
Dame is unbelievable. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. I mean, I just love when it gets past half court. He just decides to shoot it and it goes in. It's just like Curry. But anyway, love talking.
All right, so defensive injuries for the Eagles. Patrick Johnson had the concussion. We already talked about Slay with the forearm, and Avonte Maddox with the ankle. He missed the game. This is rough when you have your secondary beat up like that.
Would be surprised if he played this week based on the intel that we have from a very strong source. It's one of these situations, and we're going to talk more about this on our Sunday morning show, just about a further update and more intel on kind of what they're doing to rehab these things. And the problem with an ankle injury when you're a corner, you got to start, put your foot in the ground.
Yep.
And by the way, and I know I sent you those quotes. Andy Reid was really pissed off when he lost his kicker and his top corner, the rookie corner, when they played the Cardinals. I'm reasonably sure it was week 1. Let me just double check. He was
the rookie corner? Is it the kid from Washington?
Yes, it was their first round pick. Yes, and he was super mad. And Andy he goes, hey, if you don't believe me, he said, go watch the tape. That's what he said to the reporters there. Yeah, McDuffie, right. And by the way, the kicker still Butker for those of you in fantasy. Butker, the ass kicker, whatever his nickname was. But
can we have a Butker and a Dicker?
Right, I know. That's funny. But
I can't stop this.
I know. Hey, we like to laugh. But listen, Andy was pissed. It was the same grass. Now, maybe because he said they had resodded it like shortly, maybe that week of the game.
Right.
That does worry you. That does worry you.
Definitely.
At that stadium.
Yeah, and so
we'll see.
Yeah, that's a good point. That does worry. And so again, we'll talk about Josiah Scott if he has to play the slot again. There were some lessons to be learned in that game for him.
Look, and one thing about ankle injury. So we had a note on our Friday show that what we were told, it didn't look good for Zay Jones.
Yeah.
Zay Jones got a light workout in the ankle injury. They were concerned when it happened, but he wanted to work and see what it looked like. So he worked out briefly on Friday, got enough work in so they could list him as limited.
Right.
Now, I'm guessing, don't know this. I'm guessing because of and by the way, the tape shows this. I'm sure anyone who watched the All 22 on NFL.com could see this. There are a lot of guys slipping. The worst thing you could do with a bad ankle or an ankle injury which you just had and went late in one of these practices is go out and make it worse.
Yeah, a re-aggravation as they call it. Yeah.
Right. The technical term re-aggravation, right?
Right. Because you can't really re-aggravate. It's already aggravated. Yeah.
Right. People hate that. The grammar police on Twitter will kill you on that.
Yeah.
As they killed me on Twitter years ago. But so you gotta be careful with Maddox. They need him. And you know what, by the way, he was playing his best ball of his career, we were told.
He was. But listen, this is the NFL, right? You're going great, everything's awesome, and then all of a sudden injuries pop up. So every like Zay Jones you just mentioned, right? And then I'm sure this Sunday when they play Arizona has a couple of guys that probably popped up on the injury report from this last game.
Oh, and that's another thing. So today when it comes out around 4 p.m. Eastern, the Eagles love to wait this game that if they have
You called it, by the way. You called it on the pod last week that they were going
Don't
to
say
wait
the rib thing.
until like
Don't say the rib thing.
3:50. No, the other thing that they were going to wait until about like 3:58 on Saturday to announce that they had signed Covey to the 53-man roster.
They put out 4:15, and I know they do it. First of all, so I'll give a little inside the NFL here. So the personnel notice, all teams have to turn in their roster by 4 p.m. Eastern, right? And the personnel notice, unless there's 100 of them, will be out by the GMs and the personnel people get it at 4:15.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Eagles probably know this. So what do you think happened? They released a damn transaction at 4:15. So you and I are putting together our format for Sunday, and I've got it all filled out. Like, you send me the file, I fill in, notes, what I have, I let you know, if it's done. And I'm waiting. I'm like, could they just put this out already? We know they're signing him up to 53. They're out of elevations. So of course that happens. And I'm like, was this really necessary?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they knew this all day. It's just so stupid.
Yeah. They listened to Inside the Birds and they thought,
they probably did it on purpose.
You think 4 o'clock is late, Adam? We're going to release it at 4:15.
Right. But anyway, so that's what they're doing. So with Elliott and the kid Dicker and Avonte Maddox, they already have Josiah Scott as the backup nickel, so they don't have to do anything. Here's this is the way I'll look at the Maddox situation. Mm-hmm. If he does work this week, if he's just limited, I would pretty much assume he's not playing. He's got to show, even Friday's practice, which is an hour, which is later. He's got to show
range of motion and
we'll look into that from our sources. And you've got some great stuff from Mailata.
Yeah.
So that, and you and I have heard similar stuff in terms of the MRI we were told is clean.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Look, he's a tough guy, and their depth, which is, I think you and I kind of said that before the season started, some of the best in the NFL. Yeah, it's really getting tested right now.
It is getting tested. It is, and we'll talk about how it was tested and some of the backups that had to play as we get into the offense and the defense. First, as we always tell you, make sure you're checking out FreestoneFarmsCBD.com if you're looking for the most organic, all-natural CBD. If you're someone who just values organic input and just all natural stuff getting into your body, then you want to take advantage of Freestone Farms CBD. All of it grown in the Garden State here in New Jersey. Just go get yourself a 20% discount by using the promo code ITB at FreestoneFarmsCBD.com. That's a 20% off CBD.
I am a big CBD advocate. It really calms me down. For those of us who work in a high stress environment, you're juggling like 10 things sometimes. You're like, I don't, what I do is you see my studio here. Around the corners where I do radio, and then my wife bought me a Lazy Boy years ago, and sometimes I'll just shut the lights off when I'm having a bad day. I just shut the lights off and close my eyes. Mm-hmm. And then some days I'm like, I'm like, I got to go I can't. I'm just pissed off, so I just take CBD. It does. Freestone's really good, man. I'm very impressed, and it's not. You're not going to be like high. It does relax you, and as I've said before, it helps you sleep too.
There you go. Some people like it for sleeping. Some people like it just for the post-workout feel when you get that soreness, and it just takes a little relief off. And like you said, none better than Freestone Farms CBD. So again, get that 20% off discount, FreestoneFarmsCBD.com.
ITB code. What's the code? Is it
promo code ITB?
Got it.
Okay, let's talk about the Eagles. First of all, just in general, this is going to be maybe a shorter than normal tape film review because there wasn't a whole lot of variety to what the Eagles or even the Jaguars do. Obviously, the weather-driven element of that is that you saw a lot of running, you saw a lot of short passing. There were a couple of deep shots, more from Jacksonville, but in general, it's not like the game that we had against the Lions where oh my God, there's running, there's blitzing, there's the quarterback's throwing the ball deep, there's this, that. It's just it's a little bit different than the Lions was.
There's some interesting stuff that you can't see on TV, which I talked to 2 people who watched the tape.
Right.
One guy's team's playing the Eagles at 3 weeks. I'm sorry, 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I think, something like that. And he's just like, he goes, you can't tell in the all 20. You could see the raindrops coming, but you could see these guys slipping like just trying to get their footing. They're tapping it because they're not sure.
Yep.
And Hurts, by the way, wore a glove on his left hand. I didn't even notice that on TV.
I did not notice that on TV either. That's interesting. I wonder if that was to keep a glove can only absorb so much
but it wasn't on his thrown hand though. Right. It was. In fact, now I'm going to watch it because I want to see because sometimes quarterbacks wear the top of the hand is covered. Sometimes they have the palm cut out sometimes. So I'm very curious. Two people told me they saw the glove part on his left hand, not on his right. So, all right, I'll look at it.
Who else wears gloves, Adam? Doesn't Bridgewater wear gloves?
Yes, Kenny Pickett does because he has 8.5 hands. Yeah, he was now starting for the Steelers.
Yeah, I can't. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, look, he's the thing is he's although he doesn't throw it downfield as much sometimes when he should.
Well, you can't throw it downfield any less than Mitch Trubisky was doing it. So I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, well, he had some drops last week, but the thing is he's a very accurate thrower and a pretty good athlete. We'll see what happens. But getting back to this, the thing that a couple of people said to me, he's got to do a better job sometimes of stepping up.
Yeah.
He does anticipate pressure a little bit. You just want to see. You just want to see him, and I think you and I brought this up. It may have been the Detroit game. I'm assuming because he literally could read a book against Washington and the Vikings game.
Especially against the Vikings, yeah.
Right. But there were times he could have stepped up. Now I don't know if he was worried about the footing. I don't know, but I was told pretty reliably that there were 3 or 4 times he probably could have stepped up. Some he couldn't when the pocket closed too quickly. But although we'll get into the O-line play, was incredibly dominant. Then the other thing is the first quarter, at least one guy said first quarter and a half. He's going by the time mark, whatever that means. I guess there's a time code that comes on the coaching tape. He said it was like middle of the second quarter. That they were having trouble getting open early, and then they started to get open the second quarter. That's why you saw them have a huge second quarter.
Yeah,
they started winning, and Jalen started hitting them, and he he got more. He settled down the second quarter. The pick was an inaccurate throw. Clearly,
it was a little bit behind the guy. Yeah.
It was on the wrong shoulder. In fact, the Brown run after catch play was also short. He just sometimes has to do a better job of throwing with better anticipation. He sees it. He gets it. He throws it in terms of getting it to the guy. Make the guy not stop. Brown would have got 15 more yards easily on the first half throw. I was told if he leads the pass target downfield. When Wentz was special in 2017, he did it repeatedly. That was elite football. He's like, you're going to go get this football. He doesn't do it as now. Doesn't do as well now. He holds on to too long.
Right.
But when Jalen is right, Jalen does a good job of this sometimes. Like he does. He's gotten a lot better at it. This game, he could have done a better job. I'm not absolving him because of the rain. I'm not going to do that. This is stuff.
Well, the only thing is you don't know if if a slightly underthrown pass, it was very windy out and it was whipping at times.
Yeah.
So
but he did throw.
Could that possibly have been the reason why that ball was underthrown a little bit to that Cisco picked off? I don't know. I have no idea. I mean,
it was thrown on the wrong shoulder.
Just a little late on it. Yeah.
Well, that was he hesitated. He pump faked because he didn't like what he saw, but he threw it again to the wrong shoulder. But to your point, maybe the wind. I can't tell. I just know it's to the wrong shoulder. The AJ Brown one. It needs to be more accurate. It was not a chest. It did not need to be thrown to his chest. It needed to be thrown here. If you're watching me on YouTube, not here.
Right.
That's all. It's easily. The great thing about where Hurts is now, it is so. I said this last year actually, but he just wasn't correcting enough. Now he is. He's getting it because he's in the second year of his system. He's really comfortable right now.
Right.
But the win. Look, the win. I only saw a little bit of all 22, so I'm just going by what your people who know a lot more than I do about this stuff.
Yeah.
The win clearly was a factor on some throws. It got way worse in the second half. You said earlier in our show here, it was such a strange game. Like the Niner Bear game was bad, but nothing like this because the win, because of the link, for folks who've been there of season tickets, you know this, the win could be very odd and swirling. The rain never stopped, based on the people I spoke with. It's rare for a game to rain all game. It never stopped. So Hurts had to adjust to it. The coaches had to adjust to it and trying to figure out how are we going to be able to throw the ball. Well, they ran the ball 50 times incredibly well.
Right.
But when they had to throw it, how can they do it without getting a decent base? And Hurts had a decent base in this game with his feet.
Yep.
Just a little bit where he could have thrown it to the right area.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Sometimes, especially when I was watching the game against Jacksonville, because I did detect about two or three times where I thought that he had an outlet he could have hit instead of if you just climbed up a little bit, like you're saying, take a step up or two in the pocket instead of, because he's already kind of running up in the pocket and past it. So if he just slows down and sees the guy, usually it's like a slot receiver or running back leaking out. On his 3-yard touchdown, honestly, he's got Kenny Gainwell wide open in the flat. Now, whether Gainwell catches it or not is a very good question. We'll get into that in a second. But this wouldn't have even been a compromised catch for Kenny. It would have been right there. But he scored the touchdown, but he also took like 2 really big hits right at the goal line. So you would love your quarterback to just kind of
exactly
be able to hit the guy, get the
pop.
easy touchdown, and not get popped. Yeah,
He got popped. I mean, he's so strong. His lower body, everyone knows he's a power lifter. If you followed his career at all. And for the people who said I was wrong about his dad, like I said on our show last year, one of the things you bet on with this kid is he's brought up the right way and he's the son of a coach. That matters.
Oh, I think
Guy argued with me on Twitter, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. It means nothing. I'm like, you don't know.
Of course, it's not 100%. Not every son of a coach is going to be
right.
good, but there's
a
pedigree there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Based on what I knew in his upbringing and how he was coached and how he's willing to be coached.
Yep.
Because he wants to be coached hard. He gets, Sirianni is a yeller at times when he needs to be. And he loves it. Like he responds to it.
Right.
Yeah. Now, could you do it with Carson Wentz? I don't know about that.
Right.
And I asked Flip. John said he never yelled at Carson ever. He was just hard on. He was on him a lot, but he didn't yell at him. He didn't need to.
Right.
So there was a misnomer John said about his relationship with Wentz. In fact, John said he spoke to him this summer in training camp in Washington.
Sure. By the way, the biggest thing that also sticks out on a day where there's not a lot of balls being thrown is that, you got the number 1 pick from last year's draft on the other side, and clearly the poise and the composure in really bad elements favored Jalen Hurts. Yes, he threw an interception. It was early, did not fumble the ball after that. He didn't have ball slipping out of his hands.
Only one, but it wasn't his fault.
Right. That one wasn't his fault. It was a bad snap.
Yeah.
And I thought Lawrence also did not show great timing. There were times where there were plays to be made, and he was just either didn't pull the trigger or was late, and it allowed the Eagles to get drift. It allowed the Eagles to get a pass breakup, and it was like, hey man, you're number 1.
Hurts is so much better than Lawrence. No offense to Lawrence. They're coaching well because they generally get out of the ball out of his hands quickly. But Hurts now, and I get the pockets were great. They were actually in this game too. But he's so calm now. He's not looking to run. If you saw him in training camp, when I saw him in training camp, he was. I want to be careful the words I use here. Just say he struggled as a rookie in training camp would be an understatement. He ran like someone could be open 5 feet in front of him, he'd run. Like that's how much he struggled. Last year's training camp, he wasn't very good. And look, he was inconsistent, but he started to not bail as much in the second half of the season. Plus, the schedule was good. But he gave you hope that with good coaching, which he's getting, because he's so coachable, that maybe he can get there. And he's there right now. Is he perfect? No. He's going to get better. It's only his second year into the system.
Sure. No,
so
absolutely.
Look, I bet on people who are willing to be coached. This is my experience in 20 years. Guys who think they know it all. There's some quarterbacks, I've heard from guys who've coached them, that they come in thinking they know everything, and they don't. And sometimes because they think they know more, they don't want to be coached as hard or as much. Could be guys in the middle of their career. It doesn't have to be a rookie. It could be anyone.
Right.
And they don't get to be what they should be. And this kid wants to be great, and he trusts these coaches. Coaches trust him, and I don't even know if these coaches know how good he could be. I know it's only 4 games. I'm trying to be careful here, but the signs are very good right now.
Oh, how could they not be? They are very good. Some of the, I was going to say, there are some things the Eagles are doing as a team, not just Jalen Hurts, that you wonder how sustainable they are. For one example is with Hurts is he's averaging 9.1 yards per attempt. That leads the NFL. And I think it leads it by a significant amount. And that's got to regress to the mean a little bit.
Bombs away. Well, when they take it, know what they're going to do. They're going to play 4 deep or 6 deep. And they're like, you're not throwing it deep at all. It's going to be the Goddard show.
Right.
The zone beaters are tight ends against cover 3.
Sure.
Cover 4. You should even cover two is the big one is tight ends because the only guy who's dropping is the middle linebacker.
Right.
So with it to over the middle it is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the boy Goddard at some point could be more of a factor if this keeps happening, where teams are going to start playing deeper, like Gannon was last year. Like, hey, do what you want in front of us. We're just not going to go to the deep ball. Okay,
Right. Right.
but yeah, look, this offense was look, they were in a tough way. This is a rain-soaked game. As I was saying on one of our shows, actually maybe on the Fanatic, and I should repeat here. It's rare that a forecast on Tuesday holds up till Sunday. It didn't change.
It
It
has
never
not
moved.
changed.
That front never moved.
And it's not been fun. Even though the area needs the rain, it just has not been fun.
Oh, bad. We got a drought. In fact, it's probably not going to rain for another week after it stops raining.
Well, I mean, I just wish it would have been a warmer, like it's it's supposed to be a tropical storm, but it's been like in the 40s lately at night. So let's continue on with the offense because I think we got to talk about the offensive line.
Sure.
The offensive line was incredible, and even as good as it is, I'm still not sometimes I'm still, I guess, left in awe by what they can do. We don't talk enough. I think you mentioned this last week. We don't talk enough about how good Lane Johnson is. I think we take it for granted that when he plays well, it's just like, all right, well, he's Lane Johnson, but he really is unbelievable at what he does. And I really thought, and got some feedback on it, that Landon Dickerson played in, for a guy struggling with a foot injury, especially, he was a monster. Like, he was out there looking to put people on the ground. Like that whole, like, that's where you want from your road grading interior offensive lineman, like playing with that nasty attitude. He was tremendous as well. Those combo block when he
tremendous, yeah.
Or he and Mailata and or Driscoll work a combo block on a defensive end, forget about it. Like you're just clearing guys out. It's the term is resetting the line of scrimmage, meaning that the offensive line gets so much push that it looks like the line of scrimmage is actually further from where it was. And I don't know if any team does it better than the Philadelphia Eagles.
There was a play. I did see it because someone told me about it and I had to find it. They're so good sometimes. Kelsey was looking for someone to go. They would say he was looking for work.
Yeah, looking for work.
Coaching term. Is either Driscoll or Opeta.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, but I did watch the play and I didn't write the numbers down. But they blocked it so well. He was just looking for someone to go get.
Yeah.
It was just.
Yeah.
And it might have been on. I think it was on Sanders' touchdown run, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
In the first half.
Okay.
It's just they're
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Okay, they're so good. Lane is the best offensive line in football. I'm going to say it now. I just based on the people I've spoken with and the people. The coolest thing is we talk to people from other teams. They're sort of in awe of Lane.
Yeah.
Because they know the background. He was a basketball player. He was a quarterback. How does a guy go from playing a quarterback at a junior college to be the best offensive lineman in football? And a guy might be a Hall of Famer someday. It's like the Mailata story in a different way.
Yeah.
It's, when you put a premium, you got to give Joe Banner and Jeffrey Lurie credit for this. I know Roseman, the GM, is getting a lot of credit for it, and he should. But it was Joe really. Now, I'd have to ask Joe. We're going to have Joe on, by the way, at a certain point, probably just for our Patreon people, because we're going to do a special show with Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go over a lot of stuff. But Joe said it was the one thing he learned from when they did their analytics studies and talking to NFL executives. They might have talked to Bill Walsh. You got to be strong the offense defensive lines, and it gives you a good chance when you're starting a franchise. We're starting over to at least be good fairly early on, or figure it out. And they were not. They had some lean years when they took over. They also had some really good years, and you saw even under Ray Rhodes when they took over. They were still a competitive team. They were actually a playoff team under Ray at some point. So Richie the K was the coach when they took over, right. They were a competitive team for a while. So you got to be strong on the lines, particularly offensive line, man. And they are always good in the offense.
Who was the GM of the Miami Dolphins in 2013? Was it Tannenbaum?
Mike
Ireland?
Sounds like Jeff Ireland.
Okay, you got to thank him. He deserves all the credit in the world because he traded up to 3rd overall for Deion Jordan.
Oh, yes.
Right in front of the Eagles. Because Chip
Yep.
Kelly was the coach of the Eagles. Deion Jordan was the end out of Oregon, who Chip Kelly absolutely would have demanded to be taken
100%
if he was there, but he was not there. So Lane Johnson became their pick at 4th overall.
It's funny you say it because I was thinking on Tuesday, and I'm not sure what it was a conversation I had with someone how lucky the Eagles are.
Ugh.
Let's go to receiver right now before we get to defense. Calvin Ridley
Yep.
and Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
And Christian Kirk, I know they talked to the agent, but they had no chance. They weren't paid.
Right. It was mostly Robinson and your guy.
Right, and Ridley was first
Ridley.
up.
Ridley, yeah.
Just the AJ Brown is incredible. Okay.
Yeah.
The guy's just a phenomenal. And by the way, he blocks in the run game.
Yes, he does, and the screen game too. I was going to mention that.
I know. Right. I know people are getting on the interception, but he explained it on Twitter. I love his tweet, but he's awesome on Twitter.
Yeah, he was accountable. That's all you asked for. Yeah. By
Yeah,
the way,
so
that's a way better. His explanation is way better and more understandable than some Yahoo who says he shouldn't have tried to make the tackle because you saw that Jordan Mailata got hurt making a tackle. Like some people just, I always say, there's no need to resort to extremes to defend something that doesn't need to be defended. A guy can just make a mistake, own up to it, and then media or fans can say, he should have made that tackle. It's not like the most damning criticism in the world. Like some people just are too sensitive. Yeah, he should have made a freaking tackle. Even Jason Avant and Quentin Michael thought he should have made it. Every guy who's played the game thought he should have made a tackle. So if you're that guy on Twitter going, no, you shouldn't make the tackle because you could get hurt like Jordan Mailata did, then don't watch football. Like, stop watching.
I know.
The physical sport. You got to make a tackle sometimes, even if you're an offensive player.
You're so funny. You called people Yahoos. It's so funny. There's a great video of Belichick. They did NFL Films did the video in 2009. They followed, Bill loves NFL Films, so he gave him access.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill was calling the players a bunch of punks, and Junior Seau said he had not been called a punk since high school. I just laughed my ass off because the way that they were laughing at Bill, called them punks. You're a bunch of punks. I love it, man. I've been called all sorts of names.
It's like calling somebody a menace. You're a menace.
Right. But that punks, like punk. When we were kids, we're probably called punks. With your friends, but I thought it was funny. But look, by the way, let's move on here. So Miles was great.
Kelsey was really good too, by the way. Kelsey was the combo blocks. They were just so much more. Listen, man, they overwhelmed the Lions the Jaguars front four.
Killed them. They're the number one rush defense. I know through 3 games. Let's put it this way: they annihilated them.
Yep.
I've got to the point with this Eagles team, and I think it's accurate based on a season and this quarter with this group of coaches. I think offensively, I know they're not saying this, but they're doing it. They're definitely a passing team. The first half pass numbers would show that in the first 3 games. That tells you that's what I learned from Banner, and he's 100% right, going back 50 years.
Right.
When you're throwing the ball 25 times in a half, the Eagles are averaging about 25 and a half pass attempts in the first half. 27 was Hurts' high in week 3 of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the first game, you could call whatever you want to call it because they did both. And plus, Hurts was running for his life because he was under siege by Aaron Glenn, who's the kitchen sink on. But they're a passing team. But the point is, if they want to run the ball 50 times, we know some of them were all, Hurts ran, the running backs ran.
Yeah. And
Sermon looked good, by the way. Sermon looked very good.
Mm-hmm.
They could pretty much do whatever they want. They're just kind of like, they can morph into this is kind of who they are.
It's a great
be a running team.
Yeah. I actually wrote this. It's on InsideTheBirds.com, a column about how everything looks so great at 4-0 and all, that the Eagles have blemishes like anybody else. They haven't really come to the surface yet. They may at some point. They might lose a game. They might lose 2 out of 4, right? You get to the later schedule, there's some pretty good teams there. I don't think they're going to go undefeated.
Dallas twice and Green Bay.
Right, sure. They got Green Bay, yeah.
By the way, Giants have a very good defense. That's why they're winning.
It's funny. I was having a conversation with a personnel person on what might be the kryptonite for the Eagles, like a team that has blocking tight ends and can run the ball, because the Eagles have shown they'll give up some big runs or consistent runs, and that can have a ball control offense and sort of pass out of 12 personnel. Like you look like you're running, but you're going to pop a few to your tight end. And we talked about the Giants kind of with
Eagles do a great job of that, by the way. They'll pass out.
They do.
They'll run out of 11. They'll pass to 12.
And they play ball control. It's sort of like getting a taste of their own medicine. But the Giants may have some personnel that enables them to do that. But the point I made in the column was that at some point, the Eagles' warts will get a little bit more exposed. The tape's going to pile up. Teams are going to try a lot harder to stop.
They'll figure it out. Yeah.
But the point that the thing that they can do that I don't think a lot of teams can do once you start to open up a wound from a team is that they can just say, all right, this isn't working, or we're struggling today. we're just going to go ground and pound to try to stabilize ourselves. And I have yet to see some team be able to counteract that. They did it against New Orleans last year when New Orleans had the #1 rush defense, and they just did it against Jacksonville. When they want to run, they can run and get big plays out of it.
And here's the thing, and I know people will respond to you what you said and what happened against Tampa Bay in the playoffs. It's definitely true. They completely shut the Eagles down, but here's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. You had to get a big lead against them, though. It was
well,
more that
also
they shut down
remember
the passing game.
I believe Opeta started. Who was not in that game? Was it Seumalo? Who didn't start in the playoffs?
Seumalo did not start in the game because he was hurt all year. So it was Driscoll at right guard, I believe. Driscoll came out, and Opeta came in. So
I want to see what their line is because they got annihilated, and things have changed here.
But that was more also that I don't think the Eagles had a ton of rushing attempts in that game, and they fell behind so early.
Right, but they did not let Hurts be a factor. Now, obviously, things have changed. Their offensive line is actually better now. Now, in that game, if you just look at that, look okay, Opeta started at right guard, right?
He started at right guard?
He did. So Opeta against Tampa in the playoffs, he did.
Who was the starting right guard once Seumalo went down? I forget. Was it Driscoll?
I don't know. I'll look. We could look that up. But here's in a 3-receiver set, it was Greg Ward. Because remember, Sweat had the issue; he couldn't play. It was Greg Ward as a slot, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Reagor. Think how things have changed now.
Oh my God!
You cannot play the Eagles the way you played them last year.
Right.
Because of AJ Brown is a game changer. Devontae Smith is explosive. Goddard's explosive. Everything they do is so diverse. It's like you think you have a book on them, but they change it up.
Right.
This is what the 17 team did. It's funny because we would get funny comments from other teams. Oh, Philly's so simple. Well, yeah, but you're not stopping it. Like you can say whatever you want. Like we know what Akeem Talib said.
High school
offense. Okay, then stop it. You couldn't stop it. They rolled 50 on your ass.
Yeah. And by the way, I thought Caldwell did tried. I mean, he had a pretty good game plan. He did a lot of post snap movement, played various coverages. He threw some blitzes there. I mean, he didn't blitz much because the Eagles didn't pass the ball much, but he brought a safety in the box to try to be better against the run. He showed cover 1, cover 3. The Eagles were just too dominant in the trenches.
They were unbelievable. Yeah. So their offensive line was phenomenal. Driscoll pass game had some issues. Run game terrific. That's what I heard. And this is just the best offensive line in football. Best coach. Their offensive scheme's very good. A lot of clear out routes. They're a big clear out route team.
Yep.
Everyone does it, but they do it. It's like synchronized. Here, verts, clear out, free up Goddard for a screen. It's just whatever they do, it's synchronized. They do a phenomenal job, and give all their coaches of credit who have input on it. They're doing a great job.
By the way, I got to tell you about a play that I was shocked did not work. I didn't see this on TV. I don't think the TV crew mentioned it either. It was early in the first quarter. The Eagles have 3rd and 1 at the 31, their own. They had an unbalanced line. They brought Lane Johnson and put him in between. Who's the left guard? The left guard is Dickerson, and the left tackle is Mailata. Mailata hadn't gotten hurt yet, so this is pretty early. So you literally had a left side of your line that went Kelsey, Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Mailata. That's a lot of beef on the left side, right? And then they lined up Stoll as an offset tailback, who's really like an H-back, and they had Seumalo pulled to the left side. So think about all that beef you had on the left side of the line. Then you pull Seumalo that side, and you got Stoll kind of running in as a fullback. Gave the ball to Miles Sanders, and I swear to God, the line didn't get any push. He didn't get the first down.
That's interesting. They did
that. Actually get that. Robertson Harris guy is a pretty good.
Robertson, he's a big. He also got Wall. They got him on the Sanders touchdown. Oh no, wait, is it the Sanders touchdown or the Hurts run up in the first half? They walled him off. They stood him up. That means you stand the guy up, you block him so much he can't move. He stood up.
Right.
They're as you were talking about the combo blocks. They're an incredible thing to watch. We don't talk enough about offensive line play, and for folks who get access on NFL Plus on NFL.com, that's the film thing. You could see this stuff because Geoff and I asked people we speak to around the league, hey, what did they'll mention. They're so funny. They mention the numbers of the player, and you have to go find it with the play. Just tell me what happened was in the first half, and I'll find it. And it's kind of cool for these guys' eyes who play football in the league to find what they see. It's actually very cool.
Definitely. All right, ready to move on to defense?
Yep, for sure.
All right. First, we're going to tell our friends to make sure you're checking out phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. So make sure you're checking out all their great coverage on phlsportsnation.com. And on Twitter, you can find them at phlsportsnation. Let's pause real quick for another word from our great friends, Sky Motor Cars. And if you do go out to Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. If not, just go to skymotorcars.com. You will get the best deal.
Oh, also, just anything we didn't cover in offense on this show, we'll cover on Friday's preview show for the Cardinals game.
Certainly.
Yeah, because we get stuff later in the week from people sometimes, and I have a feeling we're going to get more. So, although the rain, as you said earlier, it made it kind of crazy because it just wouldn't let up. It's kind of funny. You could see the players. You could see it on the L22. They're like, if you're watching me on they're looking sometimes to see, and it's just I couldn't imagine what it was like because I know you have to wear special cleats for this thing. It's not like the snow. It's different because it's rain. It's not snow where you move a little differently. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, let's start up front with the defensive line. There were some good things. There's some not so good things that we saw, but mostly good. What feedback did you get on the D line, Adam?
Pressure was okay. Occasionally got it in there. Not consistent.
Yeah.
Run game was really good. They gave a couple good runs, but overall they did a good job against ETN and James and Robinson also fumbled. I think they recovered. Yeah, they did. They recovered inside the 5. They actually scored in that one, I think.
Right.
Jordan Davis showed up in the run game. He definitely did. He's getting techniques better. It's not about how many snaps he gets. It's about how he plays when he gets on the field. Don't worry about the snaps. He's got to get better with technique. He's getting better. That's the way I would leave it. Reddick, it wasn't just if you really want to learn the game, you got to get off sacks. Individual plays are sacks. It's what did he do? Like, for instance, he had 2 sacks in 39 snaps. Tell me what he did in the other 37 snaps. That's how you tell how well he played. Cosell had a great point. He told the story actually on our show a year ago or two. He ran into OC Umenyiora somewhere, and I guess OC had 3 sacks in a game. And OC said, he goes, hey, yeah, but I didn't play well the rest of the game. And then Greg learned a lesson. You got to be careful of looking at numbers. Greg actually might have watched the tape, but maybe he didn't pay attention to everything that OC was doing.
Right.
But you got to be careful when if a guy has a sack and a half and he's on the field for 50 plays, we have to hear, how did he do? How did the tape rate on the other 48 snaps? Got to be careful with that.
It's the old Jason Babin rule. Yeah, you had 2 sacks, but you gave up like 55 rushing yards to your side in 2 quarters.
And by the way, that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our things, he played really well. This is his best game as an Eagle. He was relentless.
You're talking about Reddick, right?
Yeah, Reddick. Yeah. Number 7, Reddick, and I always think of Jaws one or Vic when people say 7.
Really important.
I'm still.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm still trying to get these numbers down. It's 7's kind of easy. I kind of got it Reddick now, but Kaiser White, we're going to talk in a second. I have to keep remembering he's 43 and not a safety.
Yeah. I think that the big note from Reddick is that his rushes were power rushes, speed to power rushes, and there were a couple of times where he put both hands in the chest of Juwan Taylor and got a pressure, which he's not exactly known for. He's known more for the speed rush. Now, some of that, I was talking about this with a personnel source who watched tape. Some of that is because Juwan Taylor is not very good. But still, when you see a guy be able to execute a style of play that he's not necessarily associated with, that's a good thing too. It shows growth. It shows the ability to want to try to do things and be more well-rounded, and it worked. You win a game because that kind of thing works. So it was good. It's good to see that as Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, he was. It probably helped. Although he probably played. It's interesting. He played 83% of the snaps, which is a higher percentage that he's been playing. But remember, folks, the Eagles dominate ball control, and
there wasn't that many snaps.
But he was really good. Force player versus the run, funneled stuff inside very well. He's getting more comfortable in his drops. He's not hurting the team when he has to drop. He had one. Kaiser White. Let me get to him. Kaiser White. I haven't seen this yet, but I'm going to watch this because I want to see this. So one guy said to me, he goes, they're doing so much. Philly's doing a much. This guy is very familiar with the Eagles last year and this year. He said Philly's doing a much better job of using the personnel correctly. Kaiser White, who's blitzed before, he looked like he was going to be a double A gap blitz. He dropped right before the snap. He dropped, and it made Trevor Lawrence hold on the ball, and then he fumbled on that. I think he might have fumbled on that play. But he's so fast. Remember, he was a safety. Though he's bulked up, he still has a safety body. And they're using him as a dropper well. Like Gannon's got it. Gannon right now has got it going. He pretty much is calling the game like he always wanted to. Again, we were hard on him last year. It was deserved because the tape showed he wasn't very good, doing a very good job.
Right.
I know his defense is, well, look at the talent he was given. I get that. But the tape is the tape. It was very bad.
Yes.
Against those 7 quarterbacks, we've given the stats. It's true. You can't say anything about it because it's legitimate.
Right.
But this year, he's calling a good game. You got to give him his props. On this show, we call it like we're told, and like what we're told by NFL people, usually dozens of people over a series of weeks, and everyone's giving him props. Like he's really calling good games now.
I absolutely got no beef with what he's been doing. Sticking on the front line, Jordan Davis, I thought stood out. Yeah, he had some good run defensive plays.
Yep.
He's still not playing a ton of snaps, but again, there weren't that many snaps in this game. But you could tell he made his presence. I mean, there are a couple of times where he just knocks the guy back because he's bigger than that guy, and that forces a running back to have to see color and then run the other way.
Well, he'll learn over the years better technique where he figures it out. As you get savvier with your technique, you'll understand because he'll be able to stand like Fletcher Cox had to do because, as Jim Washburn called him, country strong. When you have this girth and strength and athleticism, if you match it up to the technique, you become dominant where guys just can't block you.
Yeah.
Because when Fletcher puts his mind to it, in weeks 2 and 3, it was over for the offensive line. They couldn't handle him. Because when he decides it's over, it's over. Literally, it's really over.
Yeah.
He's that dominant and special. Davis has a chance to be that guy. He's got to learn.
He's got a lot of technique refining to do. His challenge, you can see, is staying low, which that's not a criticism. It's really hard when you're 6'6", 350 to stay low. That's counterintuitive to what you are as a human being. Constantly be low.
Sure.
But you can see he's not explosive off the line of scrimmage. Like his feet don't chop on that ground to create that, to turn that power into like a power to speed or speed to power, as they say.
Sure.
He's just really big right now, and he'll learn that. They'll work with him on that. But there's part of his body that I just look at his body and I say, well, it's pretty understandable. It's not a natural movement for a guy like that to have very quick feet,
With that, he'll improve his flexibility as he gets older.
Yeah.
He'll get in better shape, and also because you get stretched when you're a player, he'll and players generally, because he's a first round pick, he's got a lot of money. They'll could be nutrition, all of a sudden a nutritionist, his own cook at home, who knows? But he'll figure it out. He's apparently, what we're told, a really good kid. Being accountable. He wants to be coached. The Eagles for years, even when they weren't good, they get good guys for the most part. What you and I have heard about these players over the years, and they want to be coached, so this helps. White is apparently right now, and I think our intel on him was correct. He's going to turn out to be one of those 1-year linebackers that finally makes it. He's a really good football player. I know that Brandon Staley wanted bigger linebackers, and ironically, I think White put some size on, a little size on, but he's just really good. And the way that they're using him is really working.
I think the way they're using him is very helpful. I'm sort of, there are times where I think this is normal, and I'm sure the Eagles knew this, but he struggles to get off blocks because that's not really his game. He's a coverage linebacker.
Yeah.
So again, but that's the trade-off. When you go small and you can cover, you're not going to be able to tackle as well or get in those gaps as well. And then my only concern or criticism of D-line really is Javon Hargrave, who you see this consistently now when teams combo block him, they don't just move him, they really move him out of a gap. Like if he gets a guard and a tackle, especially coming at him on a nice combo block, before the guard may release up to the second level to the linebacker, there were a couple of times where he got driven back 5 or 6 yards. And then if you're the linebacker who's supposed to go occupy that gap that he's supposed to be holding up a little bit, and you're supposed to make the tackle, you can't get there because you got him and 2 linemen being driven back into you. In fact, I think I would say most of the bigger runs that the Jags did have were because he was getting blocked out.
Because you know what happened week one, and I don't want to call him an inconsistent player before the season, but there were times he wasn't as good as other games. We know he's had some injuries.
Yeah.
I just wonder because people asked us, we didn't really know what the reason was, why they didn't extend his contract. Because you know how aggressive the Eagles are. They pretty much anyone they want extended, they get extended one way or the other, or eventually it happens.
Right.
I do wonder, maybe with your information, maybe we have some more stuff in Sunny about this. Look into it.
Yeah,
just
I'll
kind of.
look into it.
It's not like them not to extend a guy's contract before the season starts when they clearly could do it. It's not hard. You know, one way or the other, you can figure it out. They have enough cap space to get the thing done. But yeah, let's get to the secondary, right?
Yep.
I think we got some good stuff in the secondary.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with sort of the glaring thing that stood out, and that's Josiah Scott played the slot. And look, there were just times where I think he didn't understand the assignment, or he knew it in his head, but once you start getting out there and trying to apply it, it becomes tougher. Or they're doing a lot of those matchup zone concepts that we talked about on the podcast and the pregame show. That requires communication, requires comfort who you're playing with, and this is his first time out there. So you remember that pass that Trevor Lawrence hits Agnew on the left side, like wide open.
Yeah,
go see the tape. I mean, he's literally covering the same guy that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was covering on a shorter route. So I think he was supposed to carry Agnew out to either the deep corner or the safety there, and it just it didn't happen. And there were just a couple of times I think he match, carry, deliver.
There you got it.
Right.
Yep.
I think there were a couple of times he got picked on because he was out of place.
McPherson got beat on it. Should have been a touchdown to Agnew on the
double move,
stutter and go, or stop and go, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
But Lawrence just missed him. It was a great route, and Agnew did really well last year before I think he broke his leg. He got hurt. It was like the big shock for that former staff. Like he came out of nowhere.
Yep.
And they were talking up the Scott. Tim Scott?
Yeah, Tim Scott. Yep.
Right. They were talking up him, and then it wound up being Agnew. It's kind of funny.
Right.
But Agnew is a good find for them, and they'll learn that this is bad tape. Some of this stuff is bad tape, which is actually good tape in a way. They survived it. They won the game, and they'll just make the corrections. So this is all correctable.
The play you're talking about, he was in off coverage too, so he shouldn't have been beaten that badly on a double move. I sense that he was probably.
I didn't see it. Someone gave it to him.
Yeah, he was. My sense would be in that case that's because he was looking at the court. He was looking into the backfield.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe he was looking in the backfield. Right.
Yeah,
sure.
That's what I got out of that.
So and I thought you nailed it in the pregame when you said that you had heard, and as Greg said, it made it's just sense because Scott was technically the backup slot last year, but he never had to do it.
Right.
I don't think Maddox got hurt. He'll and remember he was safe. He moved to safety in training camp, so this is mind games on him. He's being challenged. Safety corner. This time he had to play slot corner, so it's not easy.
Right.
But they'll make those corrections. So this is good that they got him in there. We'll see about Maddox. He's really going to have to show something to get clear to play. I'm not real optimistic about it, but who knows? Treatment. But what we heard, Agnew got aggressive treatment and he had an outside chance to play. It rained. They didn't play him, and from what I understand, Agnew should be good to go this week. But folks, if you're playing fantasy, not Agnew, Zay Jones. I'm sorry, Zay Jones. Playing fantasy. The problem is Agnew's filling for Zay Jones. So if Zay Jones comes back, our understanding is Zay Jones should play this week. It's not a lock. But if he does play, Agnew's not. I don't see Agnew being effective. Okay. Someone pick him up for waivers.
Good point there. Bradbury had a nice interception. I gotta say that was really Trevor Lawrence making a really bad read. And he had time. It was an interesting call by Gannon. He threw a zero blitz at him, and I sensed just by watching it that Lawrence either expected pressure or still knew what he wanted to do, because he had first of all, he had the running back coming right out of the flat on a zero blitz. Everybody's coming at him. The running back leaks out, and if he just tosses it to the running back, guy's got 25, 30 yards, maybe even a touchdown. But even still, I think he could have hit Kirk if he hit him on the other shoulder, like led him. He kind of put air under it, and Bradbury was able to come off his own guy, because that wasn't the guy Bradbury was covering. He just was able to come off his own guy and pick the ball off. And to me, that's more Lawrence not really having an urgent throw against a cover zero.
Lawrence, I wonder if he's ever played in the rain before. He was so bad in fact, one fumble they recovered. The James Robinson one. He might have had another one, because I know he had 4 fumbles they lost. I was saying earlier in the show that Hurts is clearly better than him now. It's obvious, because don't forget, this staff, the reason why they have this staff, Doug's staff, they had Lawrence take shorter drops
Mm-hmm.
and getting comfortable. That's good coaching. Well, the Eagles coaches don't feel like they need to do that with Hurts because he's so far advanced from last year.
Right.
That's why he's throwing the ball so much. That's why they had the 6 throws for 30 yards or more.
Sure.
It's all about trust, folks. They don't need to say anything. The numbers show you the type of throws that they're letting Hurts throw. They clearly trust the guy.
Definitely.
Whereas the other staff, and again, it's good coaching. It's smart to make him comfortable. And maybe in year 2 with Lawrence, they'll start opening up more downfield and letting him, giving him more volume in the pass game downfield. But he was so jittery. And I know it was raining, but man, you just got to be better than that. Quite frankly, he lost the game for them.
I agree. I think, I don't want to take credit away from the Eagles defense, but it could have, there were times that you could have exposed it where there were throws to be made, and that all 22 shows it there. And and sometimes he didn't make a throw, not because he was under pressure, but because he made a bad throw. So he'll have to learn from that. Obviously, I have no idea how much bad weather experience he has, and that probably played into part. So, but either way, Eagles got themselves a win. They're 4-0. We will continue to preview this game in the Sunday pregame show. And of course, on Friday's podcast, we'll have even more about the injuries, and we'll get into the Arizona Cardinals and how they match up against the Eagles as well.
Greg's got some great stuff. He and I talked about. He's probably the best in the country. Obviously, quarterbacks is phenomenal, but this kid, the Kyler Murray, Greg is like, it's great because guys who play so frenetically like he does are hard to grade or hard to watch sometimes because they leave guys open. Like Russell Wilson historically, when he was great with Seattle, guys would run wide ass open, but he would just scramble for no reason.
Right.
Just that's what he does. Guys who run or scramble will do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Garcia would do it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another talk for another time. But maybe we'll get Marty on. Maybe we'll get Marty Morningwood on the show.
That would be fun.
He's the best. But see, Murray drives you crazy when you watch it because he's so spectacular fun to watch. But guys run wide as stupid, he doesn't throw it.
Right.
And it's hard because it's like, as a coach, I wonder, Kingsbury recruited him out of high school, so he's known him forever. But is this really the way you want to throw when guys are getting open? You're not throwing it. It's just the way you're not coached this way.
Right.
But yet he makes spectacular splash plays. So what do you do?
I don't know. Maybe he needs to study his book more. I
know. Well, that is damning.
It is damning. It is. Of course it is. Of course.
Ridiculous. Anyway.
All right. That'll be for Friday's podcast. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Tyler Strasser, doing a great job. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.